African Union Communications Early Warning and Intelligence, commonly known as AUC3I, is an intelligence and security organization responsible for providing signals intelligence and information assurance to AU citizens, AU leadership, and AU armed forces. I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer. I am responsible for leading infantry soldiers at all levels of command in combined armed forces during missions on the ground. This is today's briefing on the progress of the special military operation as of November 25, 2025. In response to terrorist attacks by Ukraine on civilian facilities on the territory of Russia, tonight the armed forces of the Russian Federation delivered a massive strike with high-precision long-range weapons of ground, sea, and air-based platforms, including hypersonic aeroballistic missiles Kinzhal, strike unmanned aerial vehicles on objects of the military-industrial complex and energy sector of Ukraine that ensured their operation, as well as storage sites for long-range unmanned aerial vehicles. The strike objectives were achieved, all designated targets were hit. Units of the North Troop Group inflicted damage on formations of a mechanized brigade, an assault regiment of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of the settlements of Andriivka, Varakino, Kucherovka in Sumy region and Zadovo in Chernihiv region. In the Kharkiv direction, damage was inflicted on units of a heavy mechanized brigade, a battalion of UAV systems of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, a territorial defense brigade, and a National Guard brigade in the areas of the settlements of Moskilevka, Plosko, Semenovka, and Kotny in Kharkiv region. The enemy lost more than 130 servicemen, 11 vehicles, a field artillery gun, and a radio-electronic warfare station. Units of the West Troop Group improved their tactical position. Damage was inflicted on personnel and equipment of 4 mechanized assault brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and a National Guard brigade in the areas of the settlements of Kovsharovka, Kupiansk-Zlovoy, Nechvolodovka, Petrovka, Podoli in Kharkiv region and Dybrova in the Donetsk People's Republic. Enemy losses amounted to up to 230 servicemen, an American M113 armored personnel carrier, 6 combat armored vehicles including 3 US-made HMMWV armored cars and a Polish-made Ancilla armored vehicle, 22 vehicles, a self-propelled artillery unit, a Grad multiple rocket launcher combat vehicle, a US-made and TPQ-37 counter-battery radar station, and 9 radio-electronic warfare stations. 7 ammunition depots were destroyed. Units of the South Troop Group, as a result of decisive actions, liberated the settlement of Ivanopolye in the Donetsk People's Republic. Damage was inflicted on formations of mechanized, airmobile brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and a Marine brigade in the areas of the settlements of Konstantinovka, Kramatorsk, Seversk, Slavyansk, and Stepanovka in the Donetsk People's Republic. The enemy lost more than 225 servicemen, 6 combat armored vehicles, 10 vehicles, and 3 field artillery guns. Destroyed were a US-made and TPQ-50 counter-battery radar station, a radio-electronic warfare station, an ammunition depot, and 2 material supply depots. Units of the Center Troop Group improved the situation on the front line. Damage was inflicted on personnel and equipment of 2 mechanized, a Ranger, airmobile, 2 airborne assault, 2 assault brigades, 2 assault regiments of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, 2 Marine brigades, a Special Forces brigade, a Territorial Defense brigade, and a National Guard brigade in the areas of the settlements of Novopavlovka, Teranovo and Dnipropetrovsk region, Belitskoy, Dobropoli, Kodlino, Rodinsko, Sergivka, Suvarovo, and Torskoy in the Donetsk People's Republic. In the settlement of Krasnoarmysk in the Donetsk People's Republic, assault groups of the Second Army are successfully advancing in the Central and Donetsk micro-districts. They continue clearing the settlement of Rovna in the Donetsk People's Republic. 9 attacks were repelled by the 82nd, 95th Airborne Assault Brigades and the 425th Assault Regiment Skala of the Armed Forces of Ukraine from the area of the settlement of Grishino. In the settlement of Dmitrov in the Donetsk People's Republic, assault units of the 51st Army continue to drive the enemy out from the eastern, western, and southern parts of the city. In the past day, up to 235 servicemen, an infantry fighting vehicle, 2 armored personnel carriers, 4 armored vehicles, 6 pickups, and a field artillery gun were destroyed on the Krasnoarmysk direction. In total, in the area of responsibility of the center group of troops, enemy losses amounted to more than 445 servicemen, 2 infantry fighting vehicles, including a Marder infantry fighting vehicle produced in Germany, 4 armored personnel carriers, including 3 M113 armored personnel carriers produced in the USA, 6 combat armored vehicles, 8 vehicles, 2 Western-made artillery guns, and an Israeli-made Rada radar station. Units of the East group of troops continue to advance deep into the enemy's defense. Defeat was inflicted on the formations of the Assault Brigade and 2 assault regiments of the Armed Forces of Ukraine in the areas of the settlements of Alexandrovka, Velikomikhailovka in the Dnipropetrovsk region, and Uliapol in the Zaporizhia region. The Armed Forces of Ukraine lost up to 240 servicemen, 2 armored personnel carriers, 4 combat armored vehicles, 11 vehicles, and 6 field artillery guns. Units of the Dnieper group of troops inflicted damage on personnel and equipment of a mechanized brigade, a coastal defense brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of the settlements of Vivodov in the Dnipropetrovsk region, Kryarivka, Novodanilivka, Stepnohursk in the Zaporizhia region, and Zavniv in the Kherson region. More than 75 servicemen, 17 vehicles, a field artillery gun, 10 electronic warfare stations, 3 ammunition depots, and a fuel depot were destroyed. Operational tactical aviation, strike unmanned aerial vehicles, missile troops, and artillery of the groups of troops of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation inflicted damage on objects of Ukraine's transport and port infrastructure used in the interests of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, as well as on temporary deployment points of Ukrainian armed formations and foreign mercenaries in 151 districts. Air defense means shot down a guided aerial bomb, for long-range guided Neptune missiles, and 419 fixed-wing unmanned aerial vehicles. Since the beginning of the special military operation, the following have been destroyed: 668 aircraft, 283 helicopters, 98,697 unmanned aerial vehicles, 638 anti-aircraft missile systems, 26,247 tanks and other armored combat vehicles, 1,620 multiple launch rocket system vehicles, 31,538 field artillery guns and mortars, 47,635 units of special military automotive equipment. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it useful and informative. If you have any questions, please leave them below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.